All right, we're going to carry on with our second keynote of the afternoon. We're going to introduce someone that we've got to know very well, although only on Zoom until last week for the last 2 years. Mariette Brethouwer has spent the last 13 years in both international non-profit and corporate roles driving social impact. She gets the power of sport to drive social impact. She really does. Okay. She joined Nike's social and community impact team in 2016 to grow the EMEA, which is Europe, Middle East, and Asia partnership portfolio, Africa, sorry. And is currently the director for Made to Play, which is where we came to know each other, because we've been very, very fortunate, I Coach Kids, to really count Nike as a friend over the last 3 years, and that's allowed us to do a lot of things that we wouldn't have been able to do. So without further ado, Mariette, please join us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a very nice introduction. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. First of all, I have to start with, I guess, a disclaimer. Dr. Nicole Lavoie, who is on your program, is not here, sadly, due to a family emergency. So we're really sorry she can't be here, but it means that I'm going to do this presentation by myself. And she is very much available for any questions and kind of, conversation afterwards via email. So first of all, I have to say that. I also wanted to get a feel for who's in the room, because I only arrived this morning and I heard you all had some great time already together. So maybe put your hands up if you are a professional coach. There's, okay, a few, okay. And maybe if you're a volunteer coach, put your hand up. Okay, wonderful. And maybe for those of you who only coach girls. Very few. Okay, a few more. Okay, wonderful, great. So, right, like I said, Nicole, not here, clearly not me. I am not a PhD researcher with 25 years of experience, but Nicole is. And she works at the Tucker Center for Research on Girls and Women in Sport at the University of Minnesota. So this is really her life work. She's also a pro tennis player and coach. So she really knows this subject that we're going to talk about very, very well. And again, like it's sad not to be here. This is me. I am based in the Netherlands. That's where the European headquarters for Nike is. And that's where I've been for the past 6.5 years. I'm also Dutch myself. I've seen some other fellow Dutchies in the room. But my colleague Orsina is also here. Maybe you can stand up for, wave, who is based in Berlin. So we're here as a little tag team together. I think I'm gonna, in good Nike fashion, we stop most presentations with the video. Sergio knows that. So we're gonna start with that.
Don't let our cute smiles fool you. We take play pretty seriously. Not all of us get the same opportunities to stay active, especially girls. With Made to Play, Nike is committed to getting all the kids moving. But they can't do it alone. That's where you come in. Our future is a team sport, and we need all the players we can get. If you're willing, we're ready to show the world exactly what we're made to do. We were made for this. Are you?
Nice. So Sergio said it, we are all about engaging and supporting all girls in sport. And at Nike, we truly believe that sport can be that place where every child can belong. Today is specifically about girls and those identifying as girls, but we're really in our work talking about every child. We do that through a partnership strategy. So we met Sergio and Gary, I think 3-4 years ago now, early maybe 2019. And we really set out together to invest in I Coach Kids as a global destination, a global platform for the connection between coaches that we all know is so needed, to share resources and to really share learning together. And then also around that same time, we partnered up with University of Minnesota, so with Nicole and her team, to specifically look at the girls and women's space and female coaching as well. And so that's really the partnership, I guess, strategy that we take. And over the world, we have more than 100 partners, ranging from majority community grassroots organizations, but also academics, platforms, federations. And then, of course, we have our whole Nike ecosystem. So our athletes, the clubs, federations, and I'm sure you are somehow a part of as well, that we have behind us as our kind of, I guess, wheelhouse of power to do a lot of this work in this space. The state of play for girls, I am sure this has been covered either by my colleagues earlier or by others during these past 2 days, but we're not looking at the vast picture. And I think we all know there is a participation gap between especially boys and girls, but then especially if we layer in intersectionality, so those with a disability, girls coming from a background where, maybe sport has not been encouraged, we're really talking about an even bigger gap. The work I'm about to present is for 11 to 17-year-old girls, and there we're really looking only at about 20% in participation in Europe, I should say. The pandemic, no surprise, but has made it a lot worse as well. So many girls are still saying that they're not returning back to sport since the pandemic has happened. And so, it really is, I guess, a call to action to all of us to say, how can we improve that collectively, knowing the benefits that we know are existing for girls in sport. So the work that we're going to share, that Nicole and I would like to present with you today, is really looking at these key problems. So girls are less active and enter sport later. Again, no surprise to all of you. There are many reasons for that. Sometimes we can overcome those reasons. Sometimes it's very structural in nature. Gender stereotypes and bias impact enormously the way that girls are experiencing their sport. And we're going to go a lot further into that. Girls disengage from sport due to body image concerns, objectifying uniforms, and I was talking about it, where are you, this morning as well, and negative team cultures. And there's a lot to unpack. I could speak an hour just about this problem number 3, which we're not going to do, but you're going to see a lot more work coming from us in this space because it's really growing as a barrier. And actually, we recently did some research amongst coaches, and 50% said this is their main concern currently in keeping girls in sport. And then lastly, just evidence-based good education for coaches that really addresses these gender stereotypes, but also gender as a spectrum, right, is limited and actually is needed more and more. So the impact is huge. I don't need to tell you that. Girls drop out of sport twice the rate of boys by the age of 14. And that is having really a detrimental impact then on the rest of their lives. So societal, the role they play in society, the way that they form their social relationship, the emotional capital, their academic performances, all have an impact on that. And so we all have a role to play in making sure that she stays in sport. I deliberately asked who of you is a coach or has some experience with coaching, because, and even parents, we didn't talk about that, but parents, of course, as well, have a huge role to play in making that positive impact. And so those self-perceptions that those girls have can really be, I guess, overcome by coaches that really understand the things that she's going through. This morning, we also talked a little bit about coaches from the same gender having an even stronger impact on that person. And we really shouldn't underestimate the impact that we can have. And my colleagues again said it earlier, the coach is really at the center of that experience. And we have to understand that that well-being of a young person goes so much further than how we teach them to play football or karate or kickboxing, but it really is about that whole person in front of them. So that lack of knowledge and confidence is something that we can address. And particularly the work around the gender identity and the stereotypes is what we're going to look at in this new resource. So we asked hundreds of coaches from across the world, what is it that you want to learn? If you forget about your sport for a second, what is it that you need when it comes to coaching girls? And we got a whole host of different answers, but these were some of the key ones that we pulled out. And I want to show them because I think these are not always the first things that we think about when we think about coaching girls, right? And again, we're talking about 11 to 17, but there's a wide range of issues, of course, than if you're 11 versus if you're 17, that as a coach that you need to address. And again, this morning in the breakout group with Anna, some people were very brave in sharing some things that they have encountered with 18-year-old girls and abuse, for example, and how do you deal with that? Mental health issues, again, coming out of the pandemic, such a big group of young people are now having problems, with their mental health. And how do we, as coaches, as professionals, address those? Because they're going to bring that to the sports room, right? Body shame, I talked about it, the risk of eating disorders, all at a rise. All the data is pointing that, we're not necessarily creating positive climates to prevent some of these major challenges. So these are all things that we took into account as we're looking to develop this new resource. So we are teaming up. It's a whole kind of, I guess, multi-sector partnership that we're looking at. The Tucker Center, but also CAR, the Center of Appearance Research in England. If you're not familiar with them, I really recommend you check them out. They're really specialized in that space of body image and body confidence. So the new resource that Nicole and her team of academics are launching is called Coaching Her. It's going to launch next spring, so in a couple of months. And we're currently in the piloting phase. So this is all evidence-based, and we're in the phase of piloting this with hundreds of coaches across the world, like I said. I do want to call out that this is really a resource for coaches working with girls across the gender spectrum. So those queer, non-binary, trans, anyone who is going through that transition, this resource deliberately speaks to that transition of gender as well. I don't need to explain to you how powerful coaches and role models are, but that's also why we're focusing so much on this audience through this tool. So the tool exists in two parts. There is a program part that you deliver directly to girls in your sessions, but there are also modules that are specifically for you to learn as a coach. And so it's self-steered modules that you can go through to educate yourself. Gender stereotypes that are being addressed in this resource are really talking about how someone looks, thinks, acts a certain way because they are male or female. Now, again, this is quite binary, but we know that there's a lot in between as well. And in a lot of the pre-conversations we heard from coaches, I have a child who, is kind of exploring their identity, and I don't really know how to respond to that. Maybe next week they want to, want me to introduce them differently. How do I deal with that? So that's just one area of it. But there are many, many stereotypes that I'm sure you can think about that are being addressed when we think about girls in the sports space versus boys in the sports space. And all of these things can have a negative impact on how she shows up. I want to pick out a couple, and specifically around aspirations, for example, and competence. This idea of girls not enjoying competition as much as boys do, for example, whereas actually we know that so much it is about individual progression, right? So she very much enjoys competition, but maybe when she's 11, she doesn't want it in the same way that when she's a little bit older, but she's still exploring so many parts of her own social identity. And so there are many, many other things. And this translates to adult world as well, right? If we're thinking about women's football versus men's football on TV, or if we're thinking about, a referee being a woman versus a man, there's so many stereotypes also in our adult world that translate through, let alone what the impact is for that on young people. And all of these contribute to that negative image. And our whole point is keeping her in sport. So how do we do that? So this is a sneak preview of what the Coaching Her website is going to look like. It really is coachingher.com, so not very difficult to find. And the modules are going to be built up in different ways. So we're going to be starting to launch with a set of foundational modules that are really the basics that you go through as a coach when you're already coaching girls, or you're about to maybe coach a girls team for the first time. You have a login function, so you can create your own profile so that you can also save everything that you've done in your profile. The foundational modules are really going to look at gender stereotypes, recognizing identities, eliminating barriers, and supporting girls' needs. I should also say, by the way, that we're going to translate, of course, the resources, so it will be available in the whole set of global languages that we offer. As I said, it's really important that when we co-created this, we did that with a number of people from different countries as well as girls. So we really used girls' voices input to create these modules. And then separately, we're going to have a dedicated model to body confidence. I talked about it a little bit earlier. The fact that now so many girls are experiencing a negative body image, but also social media. I don't need to talk about the impact of social media, especially on what an athlete should be or what a girl should look like in sport. So we dedicated a special module all to body confidence for you as a coach, how to speak positively about this, but also how to address negative body talk, for example. So how many times do we hear girls say, oh, you know, my legs look too big, or I look so fat, or I don't look good in this uniform. So much to unpack there in that space around body confidence that we decided to dedicate a whole module to it. So this is what it looks like when you log in. Every module is approximately 20 minutes long, so you can save it and come back to it, but then also essentially do it in, you know, it has a progress bar at the top, so you'll see where you are in the menu. And the exciting thing as well is that we're going to build onto this. So as we progress, the team of researchers are going to add modules to this because we don't know what's going to be, you know, a hot topic in this space in a couple of years' time. So it gives us the room to continue to add content to the modules as well. How is this unique? We all know that there are many great resources out there. Luckily, due to iCoach Kids, we have a whole platform full of good resources. So we really challenged ourselves and we said, okay, well, how is this unique compared to some of these other things that are out there? We truly believe that this being evidence-based with scientific validation by a number of academics, we can make this, I guess, deeper and more innovative than some of the other resources that are out there. There is not much out there currently about body image. You know, this has been extensively researched and we haven't found it. If you do know it, please come and share. But there also isn't much there around the gender identity spectrum because it's such a new space. And, you know, 5-10 years ago, this was such not a topic that was being discussed in the youth sports space at all. It's being championed by leading brands, one of them being Nike, and you're going to see a lot more of us in this space. I should also say that Nike itself has a huge role to play. That if you look at our Instagram, if you look at our campaigns, we have a huge role to play in influencing all of these things as well. And we deliberately are inclusive and, you know, I guess we really look at diversity in our own marketing. So we have to be, I guess, constantly challenging ourselves. And that's actually the role of our team. Like we constantly challenge our marketing teams to say, hey, have you really thought that through from an inclusivity lens as well? So I talked a bit about the co-creation process. This was specifically interesting because many different things come up in different cultures, right? In India, it's very different for a coach to have a conversation about a girl's period for the first time. Probably wouldn't happen very often versus perhaps in the States or in the UK. Girls wearing the hijab as she goes through puberty, she might decide that she wants to wear a hijab. Again, is very differently discussed in a cultural context. So all of these things have been taken into account as we're developing this resource. And as I said as well, but girls itself were part of the focus groups so that we really could understand what do they need when they speak with their coach. So what I didn't say, but this tool has been in the making now for the past 2.5 years. So we are well on our way, but we're moving forward and we're absolutely determined to launch this in March 2023. Our team is personally accountable to make sure that happens. So please do check in with us. But we're currently wrapping up the pilot phase. And in March 2023, we're going to be launching this externally. So if you can go to the website now, you will see it's there, but it's prototype and we're still building it. But then we're launching it with industry-wide partners in spring next year. For now, we'd love for you to share your thoughts. So the survey that we have been using throughout is still open. It's available in multitude of languages. And you can actually, I think Gary is just checking, does it work? Excellent. So you can actually leave your thoughts in the survey. We'd love to get your input on things that you think should go in there, that I haven't talked about, that should have been there. So please use that. And you can sign up for information on the launch of Coaching Her. So if you forget that this launches in March 23, we will remind you. And then lastly, if you think, what can I do in the meantime to learn more about how to coach girls? We also have a fantastic suite of resources. If you go to nike.com made to play, you will find these resources here. And I'm specifically proud of these because I know they talk about topics that not much available information is there. Specifically about sports bra, we haven't talked about that now much actually, but many girls struggle to ask for a sports bra from their parents, don't even know that they need one sometimes, and just experience growing pains. So that coach can be absolutely crucial in that conversation, right? I see many male coaches in the room here. There is a role for you to play there as well, right? Speak to your safeguarding officer, your female coaches, your peers, because it really can make that difference. Same for the hijab. I briefly mentioned it, but we work with many girls who, as they go through puberty, decide that they want to wear a hijab because their faith is important to them. How do you do that in a safe way? Because the one that you may be wearing during the day isn't necessarily suitable for when you play sports, right? Again, as a coach, how can you have that conversation? So amazing resources here. And then, of course, I coach kids. I have to do the plug there. As an online community, you know, really to connect, share, and learn from each other as well. And that's it. Thank you very much.